I would go and talk to a whole bunch of people like me and ask them for tips and advice. That's a great way to start. I'd find out what the upfront cost is of getting your license, not just the minimum hours, because that's rarely the case.
Yeah.
And budget for it. And once you budget for it, then you can have fun just spending the money and getting your pilot's license. Then you need to think a little bit in the future of what you want to do with your license after you've got it. Do you want to just keep, because it's an expensive hobby and it'll drain you. And plus you have to have, spousal support. You have to have everybody, happy with you going and being gone on weekends and having fun. And but it's a great life. You meet lots of great people and kind of new adventures and see new places. And if you kind of go with that spirit, then flying is a great thing. I really advocate going out and practice on a windy day, even here at Van Nuys, even if it's 30, gusting to 30 knots, and if it's down the runway, it's great practice. Now I wouldn't say 30 knot crosswind, no, not at all.
Too much. Yeah.
But or go out to Foxfield and practice there. Just getting a feel for how the airplane reacts and how you add power and rudder and stuff, and just kind of walk the airplane down to the runway is just invaluable. And I'd hate to be practicing that for the first time when you're really in those conditions and you need to land. So that's what I would advocate. And I would say,
or if you got a first-time passenger or something,
yes,
that wouldn't be a good time.
Exactly. And don't wait for just clear weather days to go flying. You should fly in the rain. You should fly when it's hazy. You should fly all kinds of conditions, just so
you're ready for anything.
Used to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And little bumpiness, little wind shouldn't sway you. Like I said, you might be introduced to those things. You don't want it to be the first time when you've never practiced it. So.
What about your favorite airports? Any favorite fly-in destinations or burger run destinations?
Well, Camarillo's probably for the restaurant.
Waypoint Cafe.
Waypoint has really made some improvements, and so that's fun. Getting out of Camarillo's a pain sometimes. There could be 10 planes lined up to get out, and that's kind of a pain. I think since you're so cozy with your instructor, you need to find the right guy who has the right chemistry with you. And it may not be the most technically correct guy, it may not be the most proficient guy, it may not be the best pilot, but it's a person who his teaching style and your learning style mix. And I had a great instructor, Markian Olesajuk, which he just we had a great time together. But he never ever compromised. He never cut corners, anything like that. But he was just very responsible, and I felt very at ease with him. And when I screwed up, I knew he wasn't going to hit me on top of the head, but he'd let me know that I screwed up. So. What
was the hardest part when you were going through that, the RFR training? What was the hardest? What was the most difficult part? I think the scanning and just when you get overloaded, your brain just stops. It just sort of shuts down. There's a time when you're saying, okay, I'm holding an altitude, I'm holding a heading. Oh, okay, great, life is grand. But you should be thinking way, way, way ahead of that. And then all of a sudden, when ATC says you have amended clearance instructions ready, advise when ready to copy. You haven't even thought about that, and you haven't set your radios up to the next frequency, and you haven't, just get overloaded. You might have to pull out a new chart and put it in and see one that you haven't seen before. Those are things that they'll just take you by surprise, and all of a sudden your mind just kind of goes into shutdown mode because it's like overloaded. So. Wow. But what about when you were... Practice is what it's all about, practicing it. Probably my favorite airport was one day I found a seaplane. It was basically a long ditch of water, next to a grass landing strip, and it's actually on the charts. It's like south of Hollister.
I think I've heard of that
And
one.
so it's got, it's a grass runway, and so I landed there and taxied back. That was pretty interesting. You just,
Not many grass runways around here.
yeah.
So
And
that's
then right next to it is just like a wide ditch, and that was for seaplanes. So that was probably my most interesting runway.